by Team Labor United to fight crime by targeting the labor force. Comrades, it is our responsibility. Brothers and sisters, I urge you to join the fight against crime, to join the fight to improve our productivity. Comrades, crime and security is everybody's business, and we in labor must play a vital role. Forward ever, backward never. Thank you.
Is this Chaguanas North Secondary has arrived? Let us just welcome them as they take their positions. And we'll allow them to settle in. We will listen first to Presentation College and allow Chaguanas to settle in before doing their presentation.
A pleasant good morning to all present. Crime and security towards a more productive Trinidad and Tobago. We, the students of Presentation College Chaguanas, will be representing the business perspective in today's forum. Now, this theme can be expressed using a simple Venn diagram. If you look to your right, we have business, which comprises of industries that share common characteristics and makes up a major part of the economy. Now, in business, there's the private sector and the public sector. We'll be focusing on the private sector. And since the government didn't discuss the public sector efficiently, we'll compensate for that. Now, if you take note, there is crime, which refers to any act punishable by law. And there's also security, which is the state of being protected from harm. Now, the problem is, when both overlap, as can be seen in the middle of the diagram, they become a plague to businesses, and they tamper with their productivity levels. So let's talk about productivity. Productivity refers to the efficiency of the production process. It can be explained using the simple mathematical formula: productivity is equal to output over input. Now, as crime increases, the cost of inputs increases, because input, which includes capital and labor, increases. Businesses need to hire more workers for security purposes. Labor increases. Businesses need more money to operate. Capital increases. And eventually, this tends to happen. The cost of the inputs become larger than the output. And when you have a higher cost of input than your total output, something is definitely wrong with your productivity level. If you do the calculation, never mind that. The Central Statistical Office has already done the calculations. And they found that in 2011, the labor productivity of this country was 7.5. But in 2012, it dropped to negative 4.3. Did you not hear me? Or are we currently experiencing some technical difficulties because of the negative value? Now, what's the link between crime, businesses, and productivity? Well, the World Economic Forum, in their Global Competitiveness Report of 2012-2013, discovered that crime is among one of the top 5 problematic factors of doing business in this country. Yes, foreign investors are detracted away from this country because of crime. And what this does is that it sends the productivity level of businesses in a declining state. But please note, the business sector is not the only ones that are affected. As a matter of fact, the four pillars of society, namely government, labor sector, civil society, and of course businesses, are all affected. And when they experience low productivity levels and do not work together to help alleviate the problem, then everything might as well just shatter. Now, the business perspective has been exploring how crime affects businesses. And as we continue, we'll be proposing business solutions to help alleviate the problem. But firstly, let's dig a little deeper and find out how crime really affects businesses. Crime has shown that it has the potential to affect a company's ability to recruit employees, to retain employees, to attract customers, to boost the morale of the workplace. And believe this one, crime presents a challenge for businesses to stay in business. And also, crime imposes on increasing opportunity costs. Now, opportunity costs can be seen when potential profits and money to enhance shareholders' values have to be diverted to installing security cameras and security guards. Therefore, what tends to happen is that all these factors reduce the productivity of business. Now, these factors clearly explain the findings made by Mr. Greg Laughlin, former head of the TTMA, and also former head of the institution, for the reason why we are all here today. All you know what I'm talking about? AmCham, former head of AmCham, Mr. Simon Aki, the gentleman to your left. Now, they commented on a research done by their organizations to determine the costs of crime on businesses. And they found that the costs surrounding crime went up fourfold over the past decade, and it represented the largest cost factor for businesses. Even the head of the National Security Council, our very own Prime Minister, to which the government referred to but did not quote fully, stated that because of crime, this country loses more than 200 million TT dollars per year in one of the major areas in the economy, tourism. And one of the major problems I am facing now is that my throat is starting to hurt, thereby decreasing my productivity level. So please, allow Makarian to continue this.
Until the philosophy that holds a life of crime superior and another lifestyle inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everywhere is war. Trinidad and Tobago will fight a crime, security, and productivity war. But what can the business sector do to alleviate crime and boost productivity? Collusion with schools in eliminating criminal, antisocial, and truant behavior through things such as mentoring, lecturing, or motivational speaking. We must deviate from allowing a seed of delinquent subculture to be rooted into the minds of our youths, bearing the poison fruit of general mistrust in society, resulting in a much-needed rise in security. Provision of resources, such as money to assist in crime prevention strategies. Sponsorship and community enhancement. The business sector can sponsor neighborhood events that would promote integration within communities. They can also finance things such as recreational grounds or community centers, which would also promote integration within the communities and boosting the productivity level. Employment. This is a big one because the business sector can employ the youths who would be at risk for becoming a victim to a life of crime, aka the criminals of the next generation. They can also employ ex-convicts. This would contribute to the end stages of the rehabilitation process and would limit the potential pool for repeat offenders. These ex-convicts can now make a viable contribution to the productivity level in Trinidad and Tobago. The business sector exposing their managerial skills and planning expertise to the other sectors in things such as costing and planning of community crime prevention strategies, as well as cost-benefit analysis. Now, these are things that the business sector alone can do. But what about a collusive effort? Well, this is meticulously illustrated by the clear-cut network or critical path analysis diagram that you will soon see. Our position is that the National Crime Plan should be an amalgamation of community crime plans being implemented simultaneously. Now, in these crime plans, what we would do is at first mobilize the community, then identify the crime issues within the communities, Then we would recruit volunteers and delegate tasks such as neighborhood watch. Now this is where the business sector comes in, as they would sponsor things such as security, cameras, CCTVs, patrols, etc. The next step would be intelligence gathering or continuous data collection. Then an analysis of the data collected would be made and recommendations would also be made based on the data collected, followed conclusively by the summary of the findings. Now if you look to the right, what you could see is a network diagram. What it represents is our attack strategy in the war against crime that the business sector as well as the other sectors are fighting. Now this could be completed in a matter of 46 days. And the red arrows are the quickest and most efficient way of executing this plan. Now, as we may know or can see, the business community has a major role to play in solving the problem of crime and security towards a more productive Trinidad and Tobago. But what we really need is unity. And until a collaborative effort is made on the part of all these sectors, the vision of Trinidad and Tobago, being a completely productive nation, will remain in but a fleeting illusion to be pursued, but never attained. And I would like to reintroduce my colleague John, whose throat has fully recovered.
This could be any one of us. Who's next?
Thank you very much, presentation. Chaguanas North Secondary. We'll now listen to your presentation on civil society.
Good morning, everyone. We are representing Chaguanas Secondary. We are representing the civil society. One of the most challenging features of a democracy like ours is the assumption, in fact, the requirement that citizens organized in various civic organizations will help refresh, strengthen, and even direct the way we are governed. But there is more given the wider range of social, economic, and political challenges that arise in society like ours. So too, a range of civic organizations will raise the passion, patriotism, volunteerism, and remarkable endurance to deal with this variety. It is such a norm today to hear another shooting in South, or a lady and her child cries out for help, another case of domestic violence. What has our society come to? We walk along the streets and wonder, is there going to be a shootout? Or a group of men passes by a group of men passes by a youth trying to get her attention by calling her like a dog. What do we do as young women? We say that's a norm. Crime exists in our society, whether the country is developing, or is classed as a third world country. We, as a general public, do not want to wait on government to put a hand on crime. We contribute to our society by establishing non-governmental organizations and community-based organizations or faith-based groups to assist those who are in need of help in our community. For example, Crime Stoppers Trinidad and Tobago was officially launched on 10th of May 1999 and has ever since reaped rewards, such as, this is figures for September 2013, the number of persons arrested or charged, 1,393. Number of calls received, 50,140. Number of tips received, 17,850. Total case cleared, 8,220. And the value of stolen property recovered in Trinidad and Tobago dollars, 13,468,255. As a result, there is a compelling need for appropriate programs to deal with the steadily escalating person-related and property crimes in Trinidad and Tobago. The various governmental ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as civil society entities must work together to bring about its prevention, reduction, and management. This is the underlying message which drives much of the work undertaken by the organizations selected in the South to South project established in Trinidad and Tobago. Our main objective today, however, is to partner with each of our fellow sectors to integrate our ideas into creating a better Trinidad and Tobago and to prevent, reduce, and manage crime. Let crime not be a norm. For the public, it is as though not enough is being done at the right pace to deal with these two runaway crimes. These two runaway crimes which I refer to as kidnapping and murder. Judging from the widespread concerns and criticism, the public seriously questions the ability of the government to deal with effectively with these two crimes. The government itself has admitted failure, but keeps promising through new plans and expensive crime-fighting hardware to improve its performance. A key part of this battle against crime, however, is the active role of the relevant NGOs, including those that we have selected for this project, which is the South to South project I refer to. The time is long overdue for civil society to play a more crucial role and be provided with the necessary resources to do so. So the partnership with government, business, and labor can help reduce, manage, and prevent crime if we all integrate all our ideas instead of working against each other. That's our position for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Once again, can we give all the schools a round of applause for their initial opening statements? We come now to a half an hour where we can have some open discussion. And that discussion will take the form of questions from each school to ask any other team a particular question that they may want them to develop, or want to hear a particular answer to, based on their presentation, on their opening presentation. The first school we'll ask for a question will be Carpachima. Do you have any questions you would like to ask any team? Just determine.
Good morning. Okay, good morning, everybody. This question is for the business sector. What they did in their presentation is they said they're spending a lot of money on security and on different measures. We, the government, are saying that we don't want to be spending a lot of money on crime, on security, and these kind of things. What we want to do is we want to stop crime from the bottom. So what we basically want to do, we were saying that we want to have like reformatory measures with the young people. So basically, crime starts basically from the people who are performing the crime, right? So we want to know why you're spending all that money on security and these different things when we need to alleviate crime from its root.
A response from the business sector?
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for your question. As businessmen and business sector on a whole, we have a responsibility towards our workers, if you understand, and their safety is our main priority. Because who are we to run the business without them? What makes up the business, right? Those who work for us. And for them to be productive, we must provide a safe environment for them to work in. And despite this, we will pump as much money as we can, disregarding expansion at risk, in order to provide safety for our workers.
Thank you.
A follow-up response over there?
To add to that too, the government noted that their intention is to solve crime. But please know that crime cannot be solved, it can only be prevented or reduced. And the reason being for the businesses to emphasize on the point of money is that businesses make money, and therefore the solutions that are to be implemented require money so that it can be completed efficiently and to help reduce crime but not solve. So that statement, I believe it was a hasty generalization, or sorry, more like of a logical fallacy to appeal to the topic of solving crime, but crime cannot be solved. So I believe that was a slight error there.
Next question from Naprima Girls.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to direct this question to business. You all mentioned that you all would hire convicts and criminals who have already been relieved from their trials and such. But why do generally that businesses reject people with criminal records, despite what you are saying?
Well, I'd like to thank you for the question, and well, what I was stating was what businesses can do, not what they do. So what we can do is begin to employ the ex-convicts so that we could stop having the amount of repeat offenders that we do have.
Okay. A follow-up?
In addition to that too, there are some obvious reasons why businesses reject to employ ex-convicts, simply because the state of their crimes was erroneous. But the idea is that when we do a background check on them and we employ them, it is to sort of like boost their morale and promote good values in them and instill it in them so that they would turn away from a life of crime and actually contribute to the productivity being increased in the country.
Presentation. You know how your opportunity to ask a question.
Good morning again, everyone. This is for the civil sector. I would like to know, what can the business sector do in collaboration with you? As you mentioned before, Crime Stoppers, I believe. And on the board of Crime Stoppers, there are men such as Mr. Martin Anthony George, also Mr. Billy Ali. Those gentlemen are from the business sector. And they have, as you showed in your statistics, have done a lot to help crime. Now, what else do you want from the business sector? How can we help you?
Let's borrow one from a table that's working. No. Let's borrow one from the other table.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question, please?
Sure. I was saying that the business sector already involved in organizations such as Crime Stoppers, which you mentioned before, I believe. Yes, I'm correct? Right. On the board of Crime Stoppers, there are many local businessmen who help in the war against crime. Now, apart from Crime Stoppers, which I mentioned, the statistics have a very big impact on crime in Trinidad and Tobago. How can we work with you to help alleviate the problems of crime?
Okay, as Labour has mentioned, to you all that why do you, why do you hire criminals? And you said that you would, you can't help society and by extension increase productivity in Trinidad and Tobago. So a method of which we could partner with you all is when you get someone who has deviated into the life of crime, you can refer them to us. We can help them out, try to get them on a straight path and ensure that they are on that path before you hire them so that it wouldn't hinder your productivity as the business. Because in turn, you all will be losing money. And losing money decreases productivity, by extension, economic growth. And we don't want that in Trinidad and Tobago right now. Trinidad and Tobago has enough to deal with, and by hiring criminals and not having the assurity that they are going to change their life, and you're hiring them, there will be such, I'm looking for a good word, such impact on society. So it's better, so we can partner up and say, well, all right, if you hire someone who has been in life of crime, you refer them to us, we would make sure and ensure that their life is in par, and then we can refer them back to you and they can get on with their lives and increase productivity. Hope that answers your question.
Follow up?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Apart from the business as assisting civil society and the overall productivity of our country by hiring ex-convicts, we can also look at the certain NGOs and CBOs in our country which assist the youth of our area who do not have proper guidance and need someone in their life to keep them along the straight path. So by funding civil society with their church-based organizations and non-government organizations, we can help guide these young ones towards a better path, keep them away from the delinquent subculture. Delinquency is a collective response, not an individual response. So each person guided away from a life of crime helps greatly in assisting others from becoming criminals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shagonas, you now have an opportunity to ask your question.
I don't know.
Can we get some assistance there from the...
Okay, thank you. This is for the government. This is in relation to your earlier question for business. You said stop crime, although business already dealt with that. I just want to go back to that a little. You said stop crime. Crime is inevitable in any society, so I want to argue that point with you. When you say stop crime, you don't say stop crime. You say you have to reduce crime or help or manage crime in society. So my question basically is, as I mentioned in my presentation, you spend a lot of money behind crime, but still there's no results. Why? Why is there no results?
I truly believe, we the government believe that why there is so much crime is that nobody, or little or nobody, has faith in the government anymore. Nobody or very little people has faith in the governmental services which are supposed to offer protection. What we intend to do, and one of the measures that we want to put forward, is to restore the faith of the public in the government and to cut down the amount of corruption that's going on, because it is evident. Corruption is a large part of what is going on in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a problem. What we as the government need to do, we need to attack that and get it at its source so we could, as you said, to curb crime, because the police service is a part of the crime in Trinidad and Tobago. It is not only the criminals. Some of the criminals are in fact who we look to protect us. So what we really want to do is get to them
and get rid of that problem and then fix everything else.
I appreciate that, but you spend tax money behind these initiatives that you don't really have faith in. Why don't you